Hey there everybody and welcome back. I'm your host Joshua Ryan. Is there anything better than two great things combining to make one even greater thing? Think about it. Mashups are amazing when done right. Peanut butter and chocolate, popcorn and butter, mayonnaise and olives. That's why a great movie or TV crossover is so awesome. Now obviously they can be hit or miss, and a lot of times it's an uphill battle to get the two properties on screen together. More often than not, these ambitious plans fall apart before mainstream audiences even know what they almost had. So let's take a look at 5 ambitious crossovers that we almost got to see on screen, but sadly weren't meant to be. You'd be hard-pressed to find two properties with bigger nerdy fan bases than that of Harry Potter and Doctor Who. But we almost got to see the wizarding world of Harry Potter spill over into the universe of TARDIS and time travel. Supposedly, all the way back in 2008, there was an episode pitched that was supposed to be written by Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. The story would have focused on a strange new illness that the author contracts that somehow brings her fictional creations to life. The good doctor would of course then be responsible for locating the escaped characters and returning them to the books that they rightfully belonged. Fans on both ends would have loved to see this, although it could admittedly fall into the cheesy territory depending on how it was done. But there is one thing there's no denying, and that's that it would have been magnificent to see Doctor Who face off against he who shall not be named in a battle for the ages. I guess I'll just have to keep sending my fanfiction to the powers that be. But J.K. Rowling's been ignoring my email for years, and I think David Tennant filed for a restraining order. Horror fans are passionate about their movies. There is a reason that horror movies often receive far more sequels than your typical blockbuster. Their fan base is devoted, and sometimes 2 or more horror franchises can come together to create a story that unites more than one iconic character in a joint story, as was the case with 2003's Freddy vs. Jason, which pitted the antagonists from the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th series against one another. Seeing the wisecracking, nightmare-haunting Freddy face off against the giant mute mama's boy Jason was great, and it was a long time in the making, but it was almost even more amazing. The original plan was to pit Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash of the Evil Dead movies. Ash is of course the chainsaw-handed, boomstick-wielding protagonist from Sam Raimi's cult classic series. The Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead, which brings demons to life in the Evil Dead series, is even seen in Friday the 13th Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. The idea was that Jason's mother has used the book to bring back her son from the dead, giving him the powers of the undead that he now possesses. While this plotline fell apart and we never got to see the 3 horror icons on the screen together, they did face off in a comic series, and that's still pretty cool. The first Transformers movie was released in 2007. It was a huge success, and because of that success, audiences were burdened with sequel after sequel after sequel. Seriously, why did people keep going to see these movies? They are awful. But they did prove one thing, and that's that toys could be a launching place for a billion-dollar movie. So of course we got G.I. Joe on the big screen a short time later. Now it's no surprise that these two nearly had a crossover movie. G.I. Joe pumped out 2 low-quality films back-to-back, and the plans for G.I. Joe 3 would have seen the introduction of Transformers. Now this kind of makes sense. Transformers and G.I. Joe are both Hasbro toys, so why not? According to director DJ Caruso, the 2 franchises will eventually collide, but he says they just aren't ready to go that route yet. Personally, I'd be okay skipping the crossover altogether and having Transformers stick to the route they took with Bumblebee. Monster Squad is an 80s cult classic that sees a group of monster-loving kids as the world's only hope against an invasion of classic movie monsters. There's Dracula, the Mummy, Gilman, the Wolfman, and even Frankenstein's monster. Plans for a sequel were underway, but where do you take the series after that? Who does the Monster Squad face off against after such an impressive monster lineup in the first film? How about the king of monsters, Godzilla himself? Well, that was the plan that director Fred Decker and writer Shane Black had back in the day. The idea never came through, and that's largely due to the weak box office returns of the original. But with Godzilla vs. Kong on the horizon and confirmed to be heading straight to streaming, it would be an awesome sight to see the pre-teen heroes make an appearance. Now that's very unlikely though. In the years since its original release, it has become a fan favorite that holds up well on its own. There's really no need to return to that universe where we know one thing for sure: Wolfman got nards. In 2012, we got the surprise comedy hit 21 Jump Street. The movie took both audiences and critics by surprise with how well done and hilarious it was. The movie was an adaptation of the super serious and melodramatic Johnny Depp series of the same name from the late 80s. The plot follows young-looking detectives who go undercover in a high school. One of the main reasons the movie worked so well was because of the comedic chemistry of its two leads, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. The movie also doesn't take itself seriously. It pokes fun at the fact that it's a reboot, a rehashing of old material instead of something new and original. The sequel, aptly titled 22 Jump Street, followed the two detectives going undercover in a college, of course. But then the question became, where do they go from here? The ending credits of the second movie poked fun at the series with clips of possible future sequels that saw the two leads in medical school and as foreign exchange students. But the real sequel we almost got was 21 Jump Street meets Men in Black. The idea is crazy, but it's also perfect. Seeing Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum facing off against aliens would have been the perfect jump to keep the series moving in an increasingly absurd way. Sony was also looking to breathe new life into their Men in Black franchise, and attaching it to such a successful series would have been the perfect boost. Instead, the idea was scrapped. We never got another 21 Jump Street movie, and we were cursed with Men in Black International. Sometimes we are so close to getting something so great, but it falls apart before we're even aware of its existence. It can really be difficult to get two different creative heads working together on one project. I mean, look at how difficult the road to getting Spider-Man in the MCU was. Which crossover are you most disappointed that we didn't get? Did any of these sound like terrible ideas, or would you have been open to seeing any of them? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MrMovieGuy86. See you next time.